More than $30 trillion in global assets are now invested in funds that claim to measure company performance using environmental, social, and governance (ESG) principles. The ESG movement has become powerful and lucrative. Consequently, business leaders get increasingly pressed to accommodate ESG concerns to define corporate purpose in ways that transcend concerns about shareholders' wealth. Our conference will aim to improve understanding of the ESG movement, to contribute to its moral assessment, and to explore approaches to realizing the values that undergird ESG.
We started last summer thinking about organizing an event on business ethics, and we got immediately very interested and captured by what we realized was considered at that age, but we think it is still the case, a backlash of ESG. Since 2016, the amount of assets and the amount of investments in ESG funds increased of 55%, so it's a huge amount of money.
And so a lot of this conference has been about what's the evolution of ESG, what are the values that are being expressed in ESG. But I was happy to be on a panel that was looking at the question of how are businesses actually using ESG? What do businesses think they're doing with ESG? And you really need to have a dialogue between what businesses are doing in practice and what are the academics thinking that they're doing in theories, because otherwise you have a divergence and you might have the academics talking to themselves and business thinking they're doing something else. So I think it was very useful to think in these general terms.
We're not talking only about abstract figures that finance professors and human relations professors teach. We're talking about the reality of the business world that we live in, whether it's Italy or the United States. And we can learn from the context capabilities of different cultures. I'm amazed in Italy to learn that many of the institutionalizing processes that have worked in industries, with industries in the government, industries in the people, represent a template that works very successfully, but that a lot of people in the world don't know about. I'm just learning about it.
So for me, the question was born out of the amount of attention that's being paid to trying to improve ESG measurements, about trying to implement them in companies, and about the amount of money that's now being poured into both the development of those tools and also the assets that are being invested under the label of ESG investing. And so part of that is driven, I think, not just about reducing financial risk or creating more financial opportunities for companies and investors, but it's also about trying to address the fundamental climate and environmental challenges we face today. But then the question is, if our concern is about the fundamental climate challenge, environmental challenges, should we be focusing so much on ESG in companies, or should we be focusing on some of the bigger kinds of questions that may not actually require all of the effort that's being put into thinking about both measuring ESG in companies and also the money being invested into them?
Institutions can play a key role in terms of precisely the sort of conflict we're observing happening with the massive technology companies. Okay? They've become huge monopolies like Google and Microsoft and Facebook, and they have, in their history, created immense benefits in terms of connecting us through the internet and social network, etc. But as they've grown, they've also become disconnected to the consequences of what they're doing. And in particular, AI, artificial intelligence, is now really driving home to us the risk of having large monopoly producers that can create world-changing conditions that may actually be to our disadvantage. And if they are to become big monopolists, it becomes all the more important that their purposes and objectives are aligned with our interests as individuals and communities and the natural world.